today I'm delighted to say that I'm in conversation with Brian Frederick, the author of the Siggy Sosidj Dog series. So children's book author Brian knew that he wanted to be a writer at a really young age, having won praise and awards for his early stories. So when he writes, he finds himself entering a bubble of creativity, which allows his mind to wander all over the place into his own imaginary world. So whether the story is about embracing enthusiasm or good cheer, or finding gratitude in the little things, which I really like, Brian's characters are really blessed with good fortune. Now, his story, Siggy the Soccer Dog, is a fun picture book about, obviously, a sausage dog who dreams about playing in the FA Cup final, which is coming up pretty soon as we speak and record this. But he wants to play for Manchester United. Who doesn't? And he saves the day. And he even has his own little song, which we'll be talking about in a moment. But Brian's background is actually being, what I like is a bit of a lawyer. What a phrase. But he prefers writing stories rather than writing writs. So his philosophy is that a great book is one that shares the beauty in everyday life. And I'm with you right there on that. So hopefully we'll find out a bit more about your lovely books and you'll be able to tell us. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Great.
So listen, tell us about your journey in your own words, really. How did this all begin?
Well, probably a lot of people will say something similar to you, perhaps, when you interview them, that you may hear a lot about lockdown.
Yes.
For me, the work that I have sort of left lawyering behind and become a mediator. And as you'll know, that work requires, or at least traditionally, until lockdown and everybody became a bit more familiar with things like Zoom, it's traditional to do it face to face. So when we were in lockdown, I wasn't doing anything. But the real catalyst for me, we live in a sort of a very arty little community here in Bristol. Around us, we've got people that do things like they design the sets for Glastonbury and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I guess a lot of people would say we're a bunch of eco hippies where we live. We're like a little sort of self-built community. Anyway, there's a lot of homeschooling. So I guess the schools may have been closed anyway, but the kids are always about. And because the adults were locked inside, a couple of little girls locally decided we must all be very sad, not being able to, to leave the house. So they one day they rang the doorbell, and they did that game that children do. I think in England it's called Knockdown Ginger.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, I used to play that actually.
Yeah, we used to call it Thunder and Lightning in Northern Ireland. Anyway, same game. Bell, run away. And I stood at the doorstep and sort of looked around, couldn't see them. And then I looked down and they'd left a little bouquet about so big of flowers that they tied up with some sort of tough grass. And it was just really sweet. So I picked that up, looked about, went inside again. And then the next day it happened again. And I sensed that they wanted to play a game. They wanted me to to talk to them. So I started to sort of talk to the midair. Oh goodness, what lovely flowers. I wonder who's left these for me. And then these little heads would poke out from around the car, and then we started to chat, and we decided that we'd call them the flower fairies. And they did this for months and months, and I think as far as I know, I seem to be the only adult around that indulged them in this little game. So they came back every day, flowers, and we chat. And we're really lucky where we live. If you could see where I'm pointing, it's no good, is it? That way is a nature reserve, so it's all trees and stuff.
Wow.
It's really cool. If you're ever in Bristol, it's called Narroways Nature Reserve, and it's only about a mile from the centre of town. But when you're up there, it's like being in the countryside. It's quiet, and there's a grove of trees that goes over an old railway line, and you can see for miles. And anyway, it's really peaceful. And I did my walks up there and began to think about a story involving these little girls.
Yes.
So that's how it started. So The Flower Fairies is a book that I haven't finished yet, but it's the first thing that I started to write. Although when I was a lot younger, I nearly had some success with a thriller called Pre-Millennium Tension. And I had an agent and things, and anyway, it sort of fizzled out, and I should have taken a lot of encouragement from that, but I was a bit crushed instead. So life got in the way, and as I say, I think the pandemic gave me a little bit of space to get back into it. I never thought I would be writing books for children, but that's just how it went. So anyway, so I wrote The Flower Fairies, and it was missing something, and I couldn't put my finger on it. But in the book, one of the little girls, I changed the names of the girls. Phyllis is one of the little protagonists, and I gave her a sausage dog because I like sausage dogs. So that was Phyllis and Siggy. And then one day, a story about Siggy, which was Siggy Loves Sausages, sort of came into my head unbidden. And by the time I'd finished my walk, which was only about half an hour, I'd basically written it. I just, not written it.
But it's come to you, the whole story.
So I came back home and wrote the first draft of it and thought, well, this is good. And in the meantime, I'd employed. You'll probably ask me later about my illustrator, but I'd taken the illustrator on to do the work for The Flower Fairies, and there's such gorgeous artwork that hopefully will see the light of day someday for that. But I then realized if we weren't proceeding with that as planned, I had to give her something to do. So it all became a bit fortuitous that we could do the picture book instead. And that's kind of how it all started. Sorry, that's been a bit long and waffly.
That's all right. That's great. So Siggy Loves Sausages. I mean, what's that about? And what's the age is it for? Who did you write that for, really? What age?
I kind of wrote it with the little girls in mind. So they were about 7 at the time. I didn't want to write I wanted to write something that satisfied me a little as well as a writer, I suppose. That's not too pretentious when you're talking about children's picture books. I didn't want it to be, for 4 and 5 year olds. So it ended up being a little longer than most of them. And I deliberately put in vocabulary because, my little girls were very sharp, and I wanted it to interest them and not patronize them. I also thought that would give discussion points for parents when they read the book to the kids. So I say it's for ages 5 to 9, and I guess it depends on the reading age of the child, whether they read themselves or they're read to. And then I'm hoping that as they get a little older, or if their reading age is advanced, then they'll read it themselves, and also with the different vocabulary. They'll discover stuff and be more interested in it.
I'm the same, as a former deputy head and class teacher for so many years as well. I like the idea that, we don't talk down to kids, and we have vocabulary that might need exploring or expanding or explaining to them, because that's how they grow, and that's how their vocabulary improves,
That's what I thought.
I agree. So tell us then, they're lovely little stories, aren't they? So they come from sort of a happy place, don't they? Now, Siggy Loves Sausages, it's a really heartwarming little tale, I think, really. And they'll love the dogs because they're very trendy nowadays, sausage dogs. And I told you before that my daughter, since the age of about 12, has always wanted a sausage dog called Otis. And she's just about to sort of put an offer in on a flat, actually, or with a garden. And she's just about she was looking at the weekend, the prices of buying a dog. And I thought, guess what? It's going to be a sausage dog called Otis. Excellent. But anyway, it teaches children, your books sort of teach children to be kind, don't they? And to have perseverance. There's sort of a theme behind them. Do you want to tell us a bit more about each book and each sort of theme that you sort of wanted to put in there?
The first book, Siggy Loves Sausages, it's about our little hero sort of keeping a promise.
Yes.
And it's the overarching theme in all of the books is about kindness.
Yes.
And I think that as a general theme is just something that I like to do. I like one of the things that I love when I read these books to children is that age group are so I should have thought of a better word than innocent, but they're when they're interested in it, the books. I'm lucky. No, not I haven't had this situation yet where they haven't loved the stories. So that might come, and that might be a different story. But when they're interested in what you're doing, they're just so loving and giving and open and kind. And I sort of wanted to reflect that in the stories and encourage that.
Because the world is very divisive, isn't it? You know, as adults now, more and more on social media, etc., the world is very divisive and unkind. And that's why I like that the idea of the theme is gently through there, because that's where children learn their values from their stories and then parents talking to them. And I think that was something that drew me to them in particular. Now, you sent me as well, because I love football. And of course, my team is Chelsea, as you know. We won't talk about our season this year. But tell us about
the ladies won the FA Cup
the
other weekend, so that's good. No, against United. True. Boo.
I know. So there we go. I'm mindful though, but tell us a bit about Siggy and the soccer, that story, because that's a great one as well. And I really like and we'll talk about the illustrations because they're really quirky and very unusual. But tell us about that story, and again, who's that aimed at? Is it the same sort of age? And I like the idea you've got pets and you've got football, and now, of course, since the Euros, girls and boys love the idea of that. So tell us about that story.
Yeah, so well, that story was just a little notion that came to me that I think everybody wonders when dogs are having a little sleep and they're twitching, what are they thinking about?
Yes.
And I thought, I'm a Manchester United fan, and I have been since about 1975. I can remember being asked what team I supported when I was about 5 in 1975, and not knowing, and going to ask my dad, and my dad said Man United, which I'm pretty sure was because of George Best. So that's been my team, and for a great deal of my life, it's been a bit rubbish supporting them in terms of winning stuff. Certainly when I was growing up, Liverpool would have been the team you'd support if you wanted to, bask in their achievements, not United. Yeah. And lately as well, for the last 10 years, not so great. But anywho, I'm not. It's something that's been in my life a lot, and so I thought it'd be a fun idea that's what he was dreaming about. And then it lent itself to the idea of teamwork and also sportsmanship and kindness as well.
Yeah, nice combination.
Yeah, and then I sort of wanted to. I mean, again, it's sort of weird talking about making it real when it's a picture book about a soccer playing sausage dog, but I tried to put real. It's difficult to describe. Again, I was going to say I tried to put real players in it. I tried to put real players' dogs in it. So there's what we call the map page. I'll show you actually. So this isn't a map. This is, obviously you've seen this, but this is a stadium, and we've got the lineups there. And where I could find out what dogs the players actually had, I got Vivian to draw that breed. So we have the centre forward is called St. Marcus, and it's a Canis, and that's Marcus Rashford's dog. And then in midfield, we've got Paul Dogba, who's a Rottweiler, because that was Paul Pogba's dog when he was at United. And where I could find the dogs, we did that. But we also referenced players past and present as well. So we have an Irish Wolfhound called Bestie, and so on. And there's a bit of fun. And on the other side, weirdly, Sergio Aguero when he played for City, had a sausage dog. There's actually videos of him on YouTube playing football in the back garden with it. So City's centre forward is called Sergio, and he's a sausage dog. Anyway, so we tried to add a wee bit of fun, and then we tried to come up with a few songs so that it would be like a football match, and it would also give the children a little bit of, I hoped, a little bit of extra interest, and maybe the parents. And I guess I was thinking mischievously, it poses the question to the parents, are they going to sing the song? I made the songs to the tune of things that the kids, I hoped, and the parents would know. So one goes to Chim Chimney from Mary Poppins, and the others to the tune of Happy by Pharrell Williams. And it never occurred to me until just before I had to read this. The first time I read it was to like 440 children in assembly, just me, no kids, except I should have brought this with me. I have a toy Siggy, so it's just me and this little sausage dog toy. And it occurred to me maybe a couple of hours before I had to do this that I was going to have to sing, with no amplification or backing or anything, just me in a big room full of kids, and it might go horribly wrong. And somehow it went okay. But yeah, I kind of made a rod for my own back. So do
you go into lots of schools then now? I noticed you were saying you were traveling around a bit a few months ago. Do you go into schools and do performances and read your story? And do you give also, do they have activities afterwards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I've done lots of schools now, and it's such a pleasure. You get so much, it's so much fun, and the children are just they're amazing.
Yes.
You get such love from them. I came out of one school, a school called Andrews Memorial in a place called Cumber in County Down, and they were brilliant. They were opening a new library, so I was there in the morning doing readings and a wee bit into the afternoon, and then I came back. They were kind enough to make me the guest of honor to open their library later, and that was all lovely. But after the readings in the school, I came out, and it was just about the end of lunchtime. So lots of kids weren't there, but some of the little kids that I'd read to were still out in one of the sort of hardcover playgrounds. And to get to the car, I had to walk all around the sort of see-through fence that they have around them. So they started waving, and I waved back. And before I knew it, before I even got to the corner, there were about 30. If everyone that was still in the playground had run over. So they wanted a high five through the fence. So I started to do that, and then one of them wanted an autograph. And I said, well, if you've got a piece of paper, I can do that. And he said, I haven't. How about my hand? So he put his little hand through. I'm like thinking, I wonder, is this a bad idea to write in someone's kid? Anyway, I sort of scribbled on him, and then they all wanted an autograph. So
I
was there for like 15 minutes.
Maybe they weren't all buying a book.
Yeah. And then a couple of them, about 4 or 5 of them broke off, and then before I was finished, it makes you quite emotional. There were this little group of them chanting Brian. Like,
gosh, a real hit with them. So the story resonates with them, and they really enjoy it. So that's really lovely. Tell me, Siggy, you said about Phyllis, you can download that, can't you? Is that a free ebook or something? And then I want to ask you about Ziggy's going to have some maybe possible friends. Is it like Nelly?
Yes.
So tell us about that. Oh, there we go.
This one is when Siggy met Phyllis. And as you'll know, Sue, part of becoming an author, people talk to you about your author platform and things like this. And then you learn phrases like reader magnet. So I guess listeners might not know what a reader magnet is, but it's where you give something away hoping that you'll engage people because they'll sign up to your email list, and then you can talk to them about stuff you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
So when Siggy Met Phyllis originally was supposed to be a reader magnet, but when I tried to give it away, so many people wanted to buy it. We then made it an actual physical book as well.
Show us again now, because the illustrations are so lovely, aren't they? This is what I wanted to talk to you about, is that the look at how bendy and curly Siggy is, and that's quite appealing, isn't it? I know.
His
and
mother and his
it,
little brothers and sisters.
It's so nice. And I know also that you've written Siggy Saves Christmas. Tell us briefly what that's about and how he does that.
Especially at Christmas time, I think some people feel lonely. I have half a mind on the parents when I write these as well, because I feel, like films like The Incredibles, all of the great children's stuff has something for the parents as well.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I thought for a lot of people, robins represent that. And so that story is about Siggy helping out a robin family who would otherwise have a really bad Christmas. And
again, it's thoughtful, isn't it? You see, again, it's about thinking about other people. That's why I like the themes that come through the story. They're huge fun. They're very entertaining. They're very lovely to look at as well. And that's why I think I was drawn to them. I mean, tell me, so that's the Christmas one, which obviously comes out. Probably people think more about that one a bit later on in the year. But tell us what's next for you. Have you got any more planned?
Yes, there's 2 in the works, and I was probably planning to have one out quite soon, which was called Siggy and the Balloon Festival.
All right.
And that was with half an eye on it sort of takes place in the Bristol Balloon Fiesta.
Yeah.
So that's a huge event. I think it's Europe's biggest balloon fiesta.
Lovely. Yes.
Anyway, he goes for a balloon ride in a balloon called Festival. And I was trying to make a little sort of pun with that. For years I mistook the balloon fiesta for the balloon festival, so I'm having a wee bit of fun with myself, calling the balloon festival. And anyway, something happens and he has to kind of save the day there as well.
Yeah, of course he does.
So that is next, but we actually haven't started that because I'm trying to set up a little crowdfunding thing, and tie it in with a charitable aspect, and do a Hindi version of Siggy the Soccer Dog.
Oh wow, that'd be great.
So I thought it's difficult to put your energies
everywhere. You've got to kind of focus on you've got to do one thing and finish it properly, and then perhaps start another one. But there are, I mean, you could go on. Siggy could have all sorts of adventures actually once you get bang.
There's plenty more to come in the works. And I'm hoping I'll eventually finish the Flower Fairies, and I've
because I saw about them. They sound lovely, and I love the backstory about the little girls as well. So that's great. Where can people buy these books?
Well, all of them are available on Amazon.
Yeah,
and they're also, as the cliche goes, they're also available in good bookshops. So some bookshops may have stock. I know several that do, but they're available to order. So if they're not on the shelves, you can go into any bookshop.
But you've got a website that they can go to as well, can't they? And download Phyllis. Tell us what your website is.
So my website is brianfrederickauthor.com. And you can download When Siggy Met Phyllis for free. If you like it enough to want to own it, you can then get it on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, they're lovely books, aren't they? That grandparents can read with their kids as well. Childminders, teachers, schools. A lovely book is just a joy and a gift, really, to spend time with the child, reading it and talking about it, which is lovely. So, of course, if people are interested, we'll put this up on the notes. But also, then it's in my book club. So you just have to go to Sue Atkins, thesueatkins.com. click on Bookshop and Book Club, and there you'll find it in there as well, and reviews about it too. So it's so lovely to get to know you and get to know the person behind the stories and what led up to the stories and what may be coming as well. Look forward to seeing that one about the balloon as well, because Siggy can get up to, I reckon he can get up to all sorts of mischief and all sorts of adventures. And I love the messaging behind it about teamwork or perseverance or kindness. The world needs that kind of gentle reminder, I think, sometimes. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks for having me.